When it comes to nourishment, our primary instinct is usually to refrigerate so it remains fresh for an extended period, but that isn't always the scenario today. Refrigeration is a habitual practice in every domicile. It contributes significantly to preserving our food and sustaining quality. Notwithstanding common belief, refrigerating specific foods can indeed alter their taste. It can even diminish their nutritional value or expedite spoilage. In today's visual presentation, we're going to discuss 21 foods you should never refrigerate, from watermelons, confections, peanut paste, nectar to plantains and more. Number 1. Plantains. A plantain is a subtropical fruit, so it's reasonable to assert that it doesn't benefit from the cooler environment of a fridge. The low temperature can actually hasten their discoloration. When procuring your plantains, ensure to acquire them prior to ripening so they can mature at ambient temperature in your culinary area. Number 2. Peaches. Don't be enticed to place fresh peaches in the fridge if they are not yet ripe. Like many other stone fruit, cold temperatures impede the ripening process, signifying you'll be left awaiting a longer duration to indulge. They are also at an elevated risk of spoiling. Store them on the countertop instead and only refrigerate if they are ripe for consumption. Number 3. Watermelons. Watermelons typically fare better outside of the fridge. Once refrigerated, they tend to disintegrate and become mealy and gritty, so to sustain the flavor intact, they need to be housed at ambient temperature, but post-cutting, you should refrigerate them for 3 to 4 days. Number 4. Citrus fruits. Citrus favorites like lemons, limes, oranges, and grapefruits are all excellent exemplars of nourishment that doesn't necessitate refrigeration. These succulent fruits are best retained in a countertop fruit basket instead. If you don't foresee consuming it for a few weeks, keep a cool, dry, well-ventilated area like a cupboard available for them until you're ready. Number 5. Mature white wines. It is broadly acknowledged that white wines are best served chilled. However, storing bottles in the fridge isn't the optimal choice for mature white wines like Chardonnay. While effervescent and lighter white wines should be served at colder temperatures, intricate wines are better savored at slightly warmer temperatures. If you possess one, a wine fridge set at 50 to 55 degrees is the most ideal option. Number 6. Coffee beans. Coffee beans have no position in the fridge. The humidity in the fridge can engender condensation to form on the beans, which can dampen the flavor of both ground and whole beans. For the impeccable cup of coffee at home, store the beans in a hermetically sealed receptacle in the pantry or right on the countertop. Number 7. Nectar. Nectar is a versatile natural sweetener with a seemingly never-ending shelf life, but it should never be stored in the fridge. The cooler temperatures alter the chemical composition, causing it to crystallize and solidify. Number 8. Basil. Basil is an exceptional herb to have around the abode. Its distinct flavor makes for the consummate cooking comrade to spice up your culinary area. Just recall, it should be kept at a temperature of at least 40 degrees. Anything below this can cause black spots to emerge on the plant and ruin the flavor. Be sure to keep it in a small quantity of water and in the shade. That way, the herb will last significantly longer than if it were in the fridge. Number 9. Potatoes. Potatoes are an aficionado favorite due to their versatility, but they should never be placed in the fridge. Cold temperatures can degrade the starches, altering the taste and texture. For optimal storage, place in a cool, dry locale to sustain them fresh. Number 10. Onions. Onions don't solely rely on warmer climates. They actually rely on clearing and open circulation to sustain them fresh. Peculiarly, you should keep them far away from your potatoes since they can hasten the onion's aging process. Ensure they are kept in different sections of the culinary area, neither in the fridge. Number 11. Garlic. If you wish your garlic to sprout prematurely, place it in the fridge. This will also attract mold to the skin and inner layers. We would advocate storing it somewhere dry and warm rather than the fridge. Number 12. Tomatoes. The texture of tomatoes can be hit or miss, contingent on how you store them. If you store them in the fridge, they can become mushy and lose their flavor. Instead, store them on the countertop at ambient temperature for 1 to 2 days. Any longer than that, and they might spoil. Number 13. Cucumbers. It's a common error, but storing cucumbers in the fridge will make them watery and pitted. If you do choose to refrigerate them, it's best to encase them in plastic to mitigate the moisture. Number 14. Oils. Most oil is safe to store at ambient temperature. If the oil has a lower saturated fat content, such as safflower or sunflower, it will benefit from being kept cool. So store it in a dark cabinet or the fridge door. The only ones you must refrigerate are nut-based oils. Number 15. Butter. There's nothing worse than attempting to spread rock-hard butter across your toast. The positive news is there's no need. Depending on temperatures, you can store butter on the countertop, covered, for a week or so. The best course of action is to refrigerate butter and extract it one stick at a time. If the weather is very hot, you may opt for smaller quantities. Number 16. Peanut paste. It does not matter the consistency. Storing it in the fridge solidifies the spread and makes it challenging to apply to anything. Next time, keep it in the cupboard and evade this issue. However, natural peanut paste may benefit from the fridge to keep it from separating once amalgamated. At ambient temperature, placing it upside down in the fridge can facilitate easier spreading and enjoyment. Number 17. Chocolate. The fridge is the poorest locale for your chocolate. The temperature and moisture of the fridge can tamper with the taste, color, and texture, particularly the cocoa butter, which absorbs the scent of surrounding food. So it's best retained away from other odorous ingredients. Instead, safeguard it in a cool, dry place in an hermetically sealed receptacle if you've already opened it. Number 18. Confection. While some confections need to be stored in the fridge, frosting-free confections and those topped with ganache or buttercream will be fine for up to 3 days in an hermetically sealed receptacle on the countertop. If you're apprehensive that an entire confection will spoil before you can consume it, section it into small slices and store them in the freezer where they will be less prone to desiccation. Number 19. Bread. Bread, particularly white, must not be placed in the fridge. The rationale being, when retained in a cool, dry place, bread desiccates rapidly. The optimal method to store it is to extract the amount you will consume in the next 4 days, set it aside away from direct sunlight in a plastic bag, and deep freeze the remainder. Number 20. Aged specialty cheese. It may sound counterintuitive to keep your cheese out of the fridge because it is a dairy product, but hard cheeses like Gouda and Cheddar or fancy cheeses like Pecorino Romano tend to retain their flavor better without any refrigeration. Bear in mind that this does not apply to all kinds of hard cheese. Drier, more aged sharp cheddars are to be kept outside the fridge, but shredded cheddar should be refrigerated. To store sharp cheddar without refrigeration, wipe the cut side of the cheese with white vinegar and then gently dry it off. Next, wrap the cheese in a cheesecloth, then wrap the block inside butcher's parchment or wax paper. Keep it away from warm surfaces and direct sunlight. Number 21. Hot sauces. Most hot sauces contain vinegar and certain preservatives that decelerate mold and bacteria from proliferating, although it might diminish the potency of the spice. Next time, keep your bottle of Tabasco on the culinary counter and observe how remarkable the spice factor becomes. We wager you'll notice the difference. Knowing what you refrigerate and what to leave out will indeed aid your food taste better, last longer, and generally be healthier for you. Did any of these foods surprise you? What foods do you leave out of the fridge? Let us know in the comments below.